But what if I told you you could use AI to create personalized meal plans that suit your taste and preferences and nutritional needs? Sounds like magic, right? So what will happen is the AI will generate my meal plan based on my inputs, complete with the recipes, portion sizes, and a grocery list. I'll literally tell it, give me my plan, give me the recipes, and then may I please have the lists? I don't know if I say may I please. I don't know. Do I have good manners with AI? I have to go check my chat GPT, but I'm pretty sure sometimes I will. Knowing me, I probably would. And so I'll say, please give me the list and give me the grocery list in order from the produce aisle to the frozen aisle. That way my frozen foods don't melt by the time I get home. And I'll definitely put my budget in there. And this has saved me thousands of dollars doing it this way. Hey, beautiful friends, welcome back. I'm super excited, just reflecting back on the past year. It's been a wild ride. This year we started our, Elamir Wellness Type 2 Diabetes Transformation Program, and it's been amazing. Seeing people online and working in the online space outside of my office has been so rewarding. And then also using all that stuff in my office for my traditional patients has also been just such an amazing ride. This year, my husband started working with me in the office, and, we started our real lives. He's done with his training now. And it's been, pretty amazing just seeing, the progression of everything and everything kind of coming to fruition. And so this is the time of year where we start to kind of set goals, right? What's next year look like? And I know for us, a lot of it has to do with family and things like this, trying to incorporate more, time for us, saying no to things, which is difficult. If you're anyone who is very career driven, it's sometimes hard to say no to things, right? Or if you're someone who's really into family, it's hard to say no to your family or set boundaries for your health. So, if you've been struggling with that, this year, I want you to make it the year where you really focus on yourself. And that brought me to thinking about what would be a good episode, to kind of close out this year and prepare for the new year. And so if you've been struggling with what to eat as diabetic, or you're just someone who wants to kind of simplify meal planning to get the right start for your new year, then this is the episode for you. So today we're going to discuss practical, no BS approach to meal planning that's customized to your unique needs, whether you're dealing with diabetes or just trying to eat better. We'll cover a simple meal planning method, the importance of hydration, and how you can even use artificial intelligence to help you meal prep. Yeah, I'm not kidding. You can use it to do almost anything these days. Definitely no need to count every single calorie, that's for sure. The reason we kind of did this episode I thought would be good for the new year is because a lot of us are like, okay, we're going to do this in the new year. I don't know. It just feels like the right time to do it, right? The holidays are over. You can really focus. If you've been listening to this podcast for a bit, I hate counting calories. I don't think it works. I think it can work in a short period of time, but not long term. And so, my clients will say, well, tell me, Dr. S, tell me the exact perfect thing to eat, right? What's the exact perfect diet? And the reality is that's different for everyone. Okay. I want to start there. It's different for everyone. So I offer my clients, depending on the client, a couple different methods I like to do. And it also depends on if they're diabetic, right? So if you're a diabetic, certain methods might not work for you. And if you're a newly diagnosed diabetic with sugars that are very high, yes, there might be more, stringent macro requirements. But say you're someone who's already a controlled diabetic or someone who's not diabetic at all, the first method I'm going to discuss would work very well for you. The first method I want to discuss is called the plate method. I've seen this done a bunch of ways. I know Beachbody has their own plate method. Harvard has a plate method. There's one recommended nationally as a plate method. There's a bunch of them. This one I find is a very simple one and is good for people who macros aren't too stringent and meal planning needs to be easy and something you can do anywhere. So say you didn't plan, but you're out and you can plan the plate. And what I like about this plate method is that it incorporates a lot of vegetables. And if you've been watching the show at all, you understand I love vegetables. I think it's the best thing you could do is just load up that plate. So meal planning basically doesn't have to be complicated. So if you're overwhelmed by all the diets out there, we're going to break this down to a really simple approach. Okay. I used to not want to do this where I would tell people kind of a plate method because I felt sometimes it's a little too strict. Okay. Honestly, and it can cause a little bit of, food stigma. And I don't want to do that. But I do think in the beginning, when it's overwhelming to eat healthy, if someone does give you a little bit of, structure, it can make it easier. Okay. So I'm going to give you this plate method, but if you find yourself, if you're doing it, that it makes you go crazy, please just drop it. I won't be offended. Trust me. And if I'm not offended, don't worry about it. Right. So I'm going to start with the plate method. This is what I give to so many people who are like, just tell me what to do. And they just really want a starting guide. Okay. So this method helps you do balanced meals. You don't have to track every gram of food, the calories. So it's good for busy people that don't have the time or energy to count macros, but still want to eat in a way that promotes health and a balanced blood sugar. So we'll start from the beginning. You wake up in the morning and this is what you're going to do. You're going to wake up in the morning and you're going to have water. Okay. So you're going to brush your teeth. Okay. Brush your teeth first, right? We got to get all that bacteria out. Then you're gonna drink water. I tell people, and listen, if you can't have a lot of water because of certain medical conditions, fine. But generally, if you're a healthy person and no heart problems like heart failure, I tell my clients 33 ounces of water first thing. You're gonna say, wow, I don't really feel like doing that then. No one does. But I'm gonna tell you a few things. If you leave the water toward the end of the day, you're gonna be peeing all night. You pee all night, you're not gonna sleep. You don't sleep, you're gonna raise your cortisol levels. You raise your cortisol levels, you're gonna have insulin resistance. You're insulin resistant, you're gonna become diabetic. Well, you may not become diabetic, but you could become diabetic, and no one needs that, right? Also, if you don't get good sleep, you're gonna have poor energy, and then good luck exercising, losing or maintaining weight. Yeah, never gonna happen. So I tell people, get up in the morning, brush the teeth, take your meds, chug your water, 33 ounces. Then go ahead, get ready for the day, right? Like, to me, it's probably makeup. If you're watching the podcast on YouTube and not listening to it on Spotify or Apple, you're going to see I'm wearing this sequin blazer my best friend Sam got for me. She got it for me a couple of years ago, and I love this for New Year's. I'm literally like loving the holidays right now, and I'm loving getting festive. And anyways, point being, so you're going to get your water in. I digress. So you're going to get your water in, right? 33 ounces. Then you're gonna get ready. And by that time, probably a half hour's gone by. Then you're gonna have your breakfast, right? So if you're hungry, eat. If you're not hungry, it's okay to skip meals or eat later. Okay, I'm gonna go throw that out there to the food police. You don't have to eat all the time. If you're not hungry for breakfast, lunch, and dinner that day, you don't have to do it. Let's assume you're hungry, okay? So your breakfast plate is gonna be half carbs, half protein. If you have a smoothie and you can incorporate kale or vegetables, fine, great. But this is the one meal where it's like, if you can't really get a vegetable in, it's okay. Think of half protein, half carbs as eggs and maybe some sliced avocado, or, eggs and berries. Or 0 sugar Greek yogurt. I love that. That's like a big cup of that. And then berries. You know what I mean? With like maybe some other protein source like hemp seeds, something like that. Or a protein shake, right? Where you put the fruit in the smoothie with the protein. But something like this kind of ratio where you have carbs for energy and protein to sustain your levels all day really goes well. Now, you notice the way I said it wasn't a ton of carbs, right? It's not a big thing of oatmeal. I'm not saying oatmeal is bad. It's not. You can absolutely do that for breakfast if that's what sustains you. But I notice, especially with my diabetics, having a more protein-based meal for breakfast definitely keeps us full longer and keeps the sugars steady. So with that, if you've been watching this podcast for a bit, you know I'm a big fan of nutrient sequencing. So that protein's going down my mouth first, followed by the carbs. Why? Because that makes the sugar stable. When you eat carbs before protein, you may have more of a glucose spike if you're a diabetic. And so since this podcast, spoiler alert, is for diabetics, you understand that. Or if you're in a maintenance phase, it's still good to nutrient sequence if you can. So the next plate I want to discuss is lunch. So again, at least a half hour before, I would have water again. I would go for 33 ounces again, because I'm aiming for a lot of my clients, unless there's a heart condition that's preventing it, 100 ounces a day, period, at least. So half the plate here for lunch is going to be vegetables, okay? Fiber-packed, non-starchy, leafy greens, broccoli, something like this. A quarter is going to be protein, right? Think chicken, fish, steak. I always joke, which is like a little crass, but I'm from New Jersey and I can't help it. If it had a heartbeat at some point, it's a protein. You're good. I feel like my husband's going to watch this and be like, this lady is so crazy. Anyways, so that lunch plate, half vegetables, quarter protein, and a quarter carbs, okay? The carbs, think quinoa, brown rice, something like this, okay? That's gonna give you the fiber, protein, enough carbs to sustain you without overloading your blood sugar. And again, you're gonna sequence it. You're gonna eat the vegetables and protein first before starting to dig into the carbs. So if I'm doing this for myself, a lot of times it's a big salad. It'll be, lettuce, kale, spinach, whatever. Some type of mixed green with maybe cucumbers. I'll throw in some olives, some tomatoes, something like that. And then the size of like my palm, right? Quarter of the plate. Although I have big hands, that could be more than a quarter of a plate. Anyways, but you get the idea. Would be the protein, and then like a quarter, third, maybe half a cup of whatever, grain. Okay, and I'll mix it all together, and then, I'll do a dressing, maybe 2 tablespoons of a dressing, some type of fatty dressing. It could be like creamy Caesar or my apple cider vinegar dressing recipe. I can post it in the show notes. It's one of my favorites. But anyways, I'll do something like that with my salad. Now, when I do this amount of food really sustains me for the rest of the day. So I don't get into the afternoon very hungry. So I really like this for my clients. Another way you could do is just to do a plain plate where you have, a meat, a vegetable, and a carb. Fine, whatever works for you. If you're deconstructing something, like so say you normally have a wrap, just think of the macros there with like how much you have of each part, you know what I mean, to make it work for that. What I love about this is something you could do out anywhere, right? You could go out to lunch anywhere and you could actually maintain this. And that's why I like it. So the next part I want to discuss is dinner, okay? And again, on the way home, maybe before you're going to cook dinner, go for 33 more ounces. Get it done. Because if you finish drinking that 100 ounces early, I'm telling you, your sleep's going to love you for it. Now, the other thing it's going to do is it's going to make you full. And by doing it a full half hour hour before you eat, you're not diluting the gastric juices in your stomach. And that's super important to me because I noticed I used to get bloated if I tried to drink and eat at the same time. And I forgot where I read it, and then I started researching it and I said, wow, there is a difference. When you drink that water a good half hour before the actual meal and kind of just sip on water during the meal rather than trying to get all your water in during the meal, your digestive juices don't get as diluted and you feel a lot better when you eat. And you're also full already to a degree, so that does help. Now, dinner, think lean, clean, and mean here. I'm thinking 3/4 of the plate is vegetables, 1/4 is protein. Now, if you're not a diabetic, you could definitely add some more grains in here. And if you're diabetic, you can also add grains. Don't get me wrong, I'm not shaming it. But if you're someone who's always kind of watching for insulin resistance and really trying to lower your carb count, this is the meal to do it because you don't need as much energy after dinner, right? You're going to be eating dinner and then kind of cleaning up and doing last minute things you have to do and then get ready for bed, right? Especially if you're early to sleep and early to rise like myself. Anyways, that's what I usually tell people for a plate method. So again, breakfast, protein, carb, lunch, half vegetable, 1/4 protein, 1/4 carb, dinner, 3/4 vegetable, 1/4 protein. And then obviously whatever you need to do for flavoring and fixings and all that kind of stuff. And if you're having fruit for a snack, all that kind of stuff, fine. But that's the general kind of way I tell people to kind of plate in the beginning if they're asking me for a plate method. Now, the reason I do this is, again, I find so many clients when I try to have them do it themselves, sometimes they get overwhelmed and they're begging me for how can they do this? So I kind of give them this just to redirect them and then they make it their own. So example, I have a client who just goes only protein for breakfast. They notice their energy levels are so much better when it's just protein and vegetables, and that's fine. You have to listen to your own body. I have another client who has the carbs with dinner and their sugar's fantastic. They sequence, the vegetable and protein before the carbs and they feel great. So you have to really tweak it to yourself. But I think people appreciate having somewhere to start as a starting point, which is why I go ahead and give you a plate method. And like I said, this is a super simple approach. It ensures you're getting the right balance of macronutrients like carbs, protein, fats without the complexity of tracking every calorie, every gram. And it's very adaptable. You can go to any restaurant and make this work for you, right? So I have a lot of clients who are athletes and they are trying to muscle build for different things. They may increase the protein. And maybe if they're in a cutting phase, they'll cut carbs down for, certain things. It's all about you, right? You change it for how you like. But just having a method stops you from spontaneously going out to eat and then just ordering whatever on the menu and then having your energy going up and down. It makes it that you have a balanced meal. So just thinking about the plate even helps. They did a nice study in diabetes care that found meal plans with a balanced macronutrient distribution, like the plate method, helps glycemic control and maintains energy in individuals with diabetes. So this is the one I like to use. There's a ton of plate methods that have different variations of, some of them have different variations of what type of fat to use. Some have a very specific amount of vegetables and fruit they want. Again, you can incorporate these as you like, fruits maybe as a snack or fruits as the carb, one of the things and another thing, right? It's all relative. It's how you feel about it, okay? So you have to really tweak it for yourself. Now, remember, if you're a diabetic, obviously discuss this with your diabetes educator, nutritionist, and your doctor. But in my opinion, if you're someone who's trying to get off meds, you're really trying to lower that glucose level, okay? Then what you might want to do is cut back on the carbs, limit them to the carbs like listed in the plate method. If you're someone who's already in a maintenance phase and your carb tolerance has improved greatly, meaning you can handle carbs without it spiking your sugar. And let me retract there, okay? Carbs are going to spike anyone's sugar, even if you're not diabetic. But the ability of it to come back down properly is really the key difference between diabetes and not diabetes, right? So regardless, that's kind of how you're going to do it, okay? The next thing, to make this plate method work, especially if you're doing it for weight loss, you need to intuitively eat, okay? Because you're not counting calories or macros, you really need to listen to your body. So instead of obsessing over the perfect, macronutrient balance, focus on how your body feels. And then the most important thing, because you're already hydrated, you're not gonna have false hunger cues here, right? And because it's balanced, you shouldn't have too much glucose spikes and drops. So if that's going on for you, you should be able to intuitively eat pretty well, which means eat when you're hungry, stop when you're satisfied. So with diabetes, it's very important to avoid overeating because large meals can overwhelm your insulin response and lead to blood sugar spikes and dips, okay? And remember, like we said before, I personally love drinking at least 30 ounces of water, at least 30 minutes before the meal. That way you're hydrated so you're not feeling thirst instead of hunger. And then in addition, you're not dilating those gastric juices. Now, if the day gets by you and you need to drink with your meal, fine. It's just something I personally do because of bloating. So anyways, so not to make it too confusing, but drinking water, at least 30 minutes before the meal, I do find helps with the digestion and makes me satiated. So I do recommend it often to my clients who are trying to look at, diabetes and weight control at the same time. Now, by giving your body this time to adjust, you're enhancing nutrient absorption and you're improving your digestion and you're going to be satiated. And obviously this has been studied. This is not new news, okay? They found in many journals, right, that you have a significant reduction in overall caloric intake when when you drink enough water. There's also another study, Diabetes Care, showing improved insulin sensitivity when you drink water before the meals because it reduces these feelings of hunger, helps with portion control, and glucose management. Now, the next section I want to get into is kind of a fun one. Say you don't want to do the plate method and you want to plan your meals yourself. This can be overwhelming. You could be counting calories all day. But what if I told you you could use AI to create personalized meal plans that suit your taste and preferences and nutritional needs? Sounds like magic, right? I always tell my clients, I give them meal plans when they ask for it, no problem, right? I will come up with something for them, find out what they like. Knowing where they are with their sugar, it's very easy for me to do. But what I love to teach my clients is how to create their own meal plans, because if they know how to do this themselves, when they're done working with me, right, they're going to know how to fix their own sugar. They're going to know how to fix their own meals. And I love to give the power back to my clients. So let's talk about how you can use AI to make meal planning easier and more effective. Technology has come a long way and takes guesswork out of meal planning. So if you're diabetic and you know your ideal macronutrients for the phase you are, meaning how many carbs you can have a meal, right? How many grams of protein you're going for, how many grams of fat, you could definitely use AI to create a meal very quickly. So when you go on something like ChatGPT, right, put in your dietary preferences. Like, let me give you a good example. So for me, I'll put something like, and this is what I personally aim for, okay? I'm aiming for 30 grams of protein a meal, 30 grams usually for carbs per meal. I'll aim for maybe up to 60 depending, right? Depending on the day. And then if, say, my sugar's been acting up or something like weird is happening, maybe I'll aim even lower. But the point is, I'm putting all that kind of stuff into the AI, okay? And then I'll tell it I want at least 30 grams of fiber, right? Things like this. And then I'll tell it my macros, and then I'll tell it foods I don't like. Okay, so I'll say something like, I really don't feel like eggplant this week, okay? I really don't feel like salmon this week, even though I do feel like salmon a lot, but sometimes I just don't feel like it. And I'll tell them all the foods I do have in the house. I have a ton of cod. I have, whatever I have in my house, chicken thighs, you name it. And then I'll say, I have a budget to fill the rest of this list of X amount of money. And I'll tell it, okay, I want my lunch to always be a salad. I want this to be this, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The more details you give it, the better, okay? So what will happen is the AI will generate my meal plan based on my inputs, complete with the recipes, portion sizes, and a grocery list. I'll literally tell it, give me my plan, give me the recipes, and then may I please have the lists? I don't know if I say may I please. I don't know. Do I have good manners with AI? I have to go check my ChatGPT, but I'm pretty sure sometimes I will. Knowing me, I probably would. And so I'll say, please give me the list and give me the grocery list in order from the frozen aisle, or give me the grocery list in order from the produce aisle to the frozen aisle. That way my frozen foods don't melt by the time I get home. And I'll definitely put my budget in there. And this has saved me thousands of dollars doing it this way. When I put my budget, I put in what I want to eat and things I hate. Then it gives me everything I want and I have a perfect week. And it's very easy to adhere to a diet when you actually like what you eat. So AI will save you time. This will crank this out in 30 seconds flat, and it'll create a structure tailored to your needs. And this can even work within a set budget, so you really don't have to worry about overspending. Now, I want to say there's already research on this saying whether you need to see a nutritionist to plan this kind of stuff or not. And the reality is that they showed even with using AI, you do better food choices and adhere to dietary recommendations and improve blood sugar control. So if you can learn how to change your macros for what you need in diabetes, you can probably come up with your own meals. And so once you practice this a couple times, it's obviously helpful to be coached to do this, then you're definitely going to be able to take your nutrition yourself to the next level. There's a nice study in the Lancet also showing personal nutritional interventions supported by technology like AI can help people with diabetes maintain blood sugar levels and improve their health. So let's discuss practical ways to stick to your plan. So even with the best meal plan in the world, it's so easy to slip up. I'm going to talk about how you can stay on track with your healthy meal plans and avoid mid-afternoon cravings. First of all, it's all about consistency and finding strategies that work for your lifestyle. And here are some tips. First, I want you to prep ahead. Set aside time each week to prep your meals. Batch cook proteins, vegetables, and whole grains in advance. That will save you time and reaching for unhealthy foods when you're hungry and rushed. The next thing is I want you to mindfully eat. Focus on eating slowly and savoring each bite. This will allow you to tune to your body's hunger and fullness signals and help you avoid overeating. So example, the studies are different on this, but some say it takes 20 minutes to register that you're actually satisfied or full. So what you need to do is eat slowly enough so you can actually listen to this. Another thing is staying hydrated like we've mentioned before. Keeping that water with you will curb hunger and aid in digestion. Then either plan your meals using something like AI or use the plate method like we discussed. This will help you not do spontaneous eating, which can lead to overeating very quickly. Now, people say that's kind of boring, right? But you don't need to be spontaneous to enjoy your food, right? So today we covered how to simplify your meal planning using the plate method, how to adjust it for diabetics, and how you can use technology like AI to create personalized meal plans tailored to your needs depending where you are in your journey. So here's the key takeaway. The plate method is a nice, easy approach for those who are just a little bit overwhelmed and don't want to really count every macro or calorie. And for diabetics, you can adjust this to your carb tolerance, and blood sugar control is essential. Now, you can also use AI tools, take your personal preferences to the next level, and generate meal plans and grocery lists that make it stress-free. All right, so I hope you enjoy your new year. I hope you start planning. Thanks for tuning in to the Vitality Prescription. So if you found today's episode helpful, please subscribe, leave a review, and share it with others who might find benefit. And for more information, check out the episode notes. And until next time, remember, personalized meal planning can simplify your life and improve your health. It's all about making small, sustainable changes.